Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me here today. In today's video, we're going to be going over the Season 1 Outcomes Report, taking a look here at the news over at Halo Waypoint. And this is a absolutely huge article, so it's going to take some time, roughly about an hour. We're going to go over it. I'm going to give my thoughts on some of the things here on it. And we're going to chat with you guys here. So let's go ahead and jump right in and take a look at it here because, well, much like 343 likes to do, I've kind of thumbed through this already a little bit, and it's a whole lot of nothing with some news in it. This probably could have been summed up pretty quickly for them, but you know how they like to really bloat everything here. So let's just go ahead here, just check some sound settings real quick. Turn down the music. We got some Halo music going for us here. All right. Since the launch of Halo Infinite, we've been paying close attention to community feedback and addressing what we can in a timely manner. I don't really think so, but okay. Communicating what we're working on with closer look blogs and prioritizing future content and features internally based on that player input. So they've had since last November, technically, when the multiplayer launched in beta. And we're going to go ahead here. They talked about what they learned with each flight. We're not going to look at that here because they do talk about it. There's a lot to go over here. To set expectations, please keep in mind this is not meant to cover all of the upcoming work that they have planned for Infinite, nor does it have specific timelines for every item. I guess we're getting this blog post instead of getting the roadmap that they said we were supposed to get. We'll talk about what's landing in Season 2, and they'll have more to share around the specific timing of features and content in the future. As Joseph noted earlier in the month, the team is actively working towards shipping fixes, features, and updates in a more agile way during the seasons. For the TLDR, we've recommended reading the full blog, but here's a quick look at some of the updates coming in Season 2, which launches on May 3rd. This is by no means everything, and you can find additional insights from each of the team in the sections below, but we wanted to do a list of outcomes that they think that we'll want to see up front and already locked and loaded for next months as work continues in numerous areas. So the audio, the ability to hear the opponent's shield recharge sound will be reduced to prevent providing too much information about players' location. That was definitely not something that I would even complain about. With the radar kind of being a little bit short, that was actually something that, was a tool that was used. So it's I don't know. I don't think that they should change it. But apparently, and also the volume of the grunt birthday party sound effect will be increased in the campaign. When it comes to multiplayer with the arena, Catalyst, which is a new arena map, will be added to multiple playlists on day 1. I can't believe we're really only going to get one map that's really an arena map, and I'm pretty sure we're getting a big team battle map, but not everybody plays big team battles, so I don't know. It's strange to me that after all this time they really only have one map. King of the Hill will be added to multiple playlists, which I don't even think King of the Hill is currently in the game, which is another weird omission for Halo just in general. In attrition, a revived player will be able to move immediately after spawning back in. The motion tracker radar will have its outer edge detection enabled for shooting and sprinting in social playlists. That is, it is what it is. They wouldn't really have to have the edge detection on if the range was just a little bit bigger. Personally, I think the radar should be at 25 meters. That's what it's been in previous games, and it worked out pretty well then. My personal opinion, Halo 5's radar was entirely way too small. But, it's nice to see it getting some kind of increase here. Big Team Battle. Breaker, a new BTB map, will be added in matchmaking on day 1. Jeff Steitzer's voice is returning to call out player-earned medals. Issues causing asymmetrical weapon rack spawns has been addressed. This was weird. The announcer's voice that's in the arena wasn't in Big Team Battle. Like, is that an oversight? I don't know. It's very confusing. Like, I don't understand why they wouldn't have had that there just to begin with. What is playing Loki music for? Okay, we'll turn that off. Rather than track a player's entire session, the CSR progression bar will now reflect the progress made in the most recent match. Custom games in Forge, addressing some custom game bugs with more coming down the road. I would like to get actually more information on what that is, because when it comes to custom games, it's pretty broken. From my understanding, you can't save game variants. And also when trying to load in with like AI bots, it doesn't work right. Like, you have to have it set at a very specific number in order for the team distribution for the bots to actually even work. Otherwise, like, you'll have one person on the opposite team and all the bots in your team. And this is something that I've noticed. It definitely needs to get fixed. It's weird that they're talking about things that are getting fixed and they're addressing Forge when Forge isn't in the game. But personal AI and Spartan chatter balance adjustments were made to emphasize what's most important for the players. On PC, noticeable stability improvements, and the team has resolved a dozen of PC crashes. Funny enough, just the other day, when playing in the Tenrai event, I had my first crash in playing the retail version of Infinite on my Series S. And I mean, it shut the Xbox off, which always has me a little bit worried. So I don't know. Hopefully that is something that can be addressed, and it's, not going to be a huge problem for the future. When it comes to networking with the sandbox, melee fights should be more consistent, with opponents phasing through each other less and whiffing less when a melee should have connected. That is something that I've run into a lot. With weapons, a global melee damage decrease of 10% on all weapons will require the Mangler to land 2 shots and a beatdown for a kill. This has me a little bit worried. Generally, all of the melees are 2 melees and, the opponent is dead. But here, they're decreasing the damage 10%, so is that going to have to add a third one? Because they might as well just keep it at 2, and if they're looking to nerf the Mangler, just specifically work on the Mangler damage. I don't even know if that's something that can happen or not, but the Ravager's base non-charged shot will see a damage increase, which is good. The Ravager kind of sucks. There's a lot of really bad weapons with the multiplayer, which is odd because most of the weapons in the campaign they're decent. Every weapon you can use pretty effectively. But when it comes to the multiplayer, not so much. Friend or foe recognition player outlines. The system will now have options allowing players to modify the opacity and thickness based on their preference. The equipment, the drop wall will see a slight performance increase. The drop wall is pretty useless, again, in the multiplayer. The fact that you can upgrade it in the campaign, adds a lot to its viability. But the multiplayer version of that is it's way too weak. It takes way too long to deploy. And I mean, if you just shoot it when it's dropped, you can destroy it. So I don't know. With vehicles, chopper collision, splatter damage will be increased to its vehicle splattering glory. The Banshee's agility and damage output will be increased to improve its role as a strike fighter. And the Warthog and the Razorback should be more resistant to flipping and bouncing. We'll have another outcomes blog focusing on the live teams areas such as customization, shot battle pass, progression, challenges, events, theater, and observer mode in the near future. Challenges are something that really need to get worked on. I'm interested to see exactly what they're going to say about it. Because currently, the challenges are designed to push you towards the store to get the challenge swaps. This last week with the Tenrai event was probably, in my opinion, the best balance of challenges that I've had. I've had other challenges where they're broken and none of the progression counts towards those. I was able to get the ultimate reward, which was a armor chest piece, which is what the ultimate rewards for challenges should be. No emblems. Maybe an armor coating, or a weapon coating, but no emblems. The emblems, I've made my thoughts on this before previously. Pretty well known, but the emblems are garbage. They should never be a reward. They shouldn't even really be locked behind anything to begin with. But that is a whole other topic and rant that I could go on. But we're going to continue here. Today's Season 1 Outcomes blog is meant to highlight key community themes and the Halo Infinite's team's response to each of them. To start, we'll be going in alphabetical order to kick things off with the teammates working on accessibility. Desire for an auto sprint option, more colorblind settings, desired for audio visual feature. We're going to take a look at this because I don't necessarily know what this means. But auto sprint, yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening. Why not, right? Desire for an auto sprint. Accessibility continues to be an area that we want to focus in and improve on, and we believe that the feedback from the gaming community and disability community is at the forefront of that. We've received feedback that folks are looking for more ways to configure movement to be accessible, including more options for making sprint accessible. Our sandbox team is currently investigating a setting that can be created for this. All right, so they're looking into the options for an auto sprint. So those of you that don't want to click a button, or for those of you that maybe have an issue with that, they're going to apparently take care of it. Feedback desired for more colorblind settings. The ability to configure friend and enemy colors for colorblind needs or color preferences has been received positively, but players are looking for additional colorblind settings that the UX UI team is currently investigating. Exposure, more color options based in pain points for players, i.e. damage colors, HUD colors, etc. We are prioritizing and exposing these individual settings over a color channel filter as seen in the feedback for the community. This is something, and I don't necessarily know if this is related to this. I've gone from playing Infinite on a computer monitor that was a 4K monitor that had pretty good color on it to a TV, the 4K TV. And the color on the TV in the game is, it's very muted. Like, I'd have to turn the color settings up on my TV to like 85 out of 100 in order to get like really good color. But it's the only game that does that. So I don't know if that's a bug or because I've gone through settings on my TV and it's only Halo Infinite. Every other game on the Xbox that I play has really good color. But for some reason, Infinite seems to be really kind of like bland, and the saturation is what I'm trying to express here. The saturation of the colors is not very good for some reason on the TV. It's only that game. Desire for audio visualization feature. The audio visualization feature remains the most design and implementation heavy of these accessibility requests. We are in very early exploratory stages, but are committed to the design of goal of making Infinite fully playable without audio, with the same information that players who play with audio receive. I feel like if Xbox, at least the series consoles, had a better controller, something very similar to the DualSense for, that the PS5 has, they could do stuff like that. They still could kind of with the controller, with the vibration functions and the trigger functions, but yeah, I think if they had a better controller, that would be something here. Audio. Shield recharge. Sound on opponent is too loud, providing too much information as to where they're hiding. That is just absolutely not true. I don't know. I've been following a lot of the feedback for Infinite on Twitter, and I've never heard this. And I mean, maybe I just don't spend enough time looking at the feedback that I've seen, but I've never seen this on here. Grunt birthday party sound effect too quiet. Again, not anything I've heard anyone talk about. Let's see. Feedback. The dynamo grenades provide audio hit ticks, allowing them to serve as audio hit markers, and ranked settings when grenades hit markers should be disabled. So I guess they're going to probably turn that off here. The birthday party sound effect is too quiet. Obviously, they're going to turn it up. Reports of issues hearing players and shots behind you on certain headphones. I've not run into this, so I don't know. Many players have also reported missing sounds from behind while playing the game with certain headphones. Our investigation, we discovered that this is a specific hardware/platform issue, which also affects other titles, therefore cannot be solved by an update to Halo Infinite itself. If you're experiencing this, okay, so if you're having problems with your headphones, it's whatever hardware you're using. Multiplayer with the Academy. Okay, this is actually something that I've spent quite a bit of time in, and I really do like the Academy. I think that it can provide a lot of help for new players and people that are getting back into the game. So let's see what they have here to say about that. Many players would like longer or untimed weapon drills. Yeah, that is something that is odd that they would just kind of slap a timer on that and not have the option to not have that. Most people learn better when they're able to, play at their own pace, which I get that the training area where you run around and you can set the settings for that and everything. But having a weapon range here, you'd be able to get a better handle on a lot of the weapons if you weren't kind of timed and have that counting down. And they agree you could expect endless weapon drills to come to Season 2. With the arena, maps, and modes, feedback is desired for more arena maps and modes. Bring attrition back to matchmaking and quick play. Feedback. In attrition, players want the ability to move while reviving a fallen teammate and be able to move immediately after being revived. I don't know, who thought that was a good idea to not be able to move right when you come back. That's just that is weird to me. I don't understand why. How did anyone think that was a bad idea? I don't know. Personally, I remember playing attrition. I can't remember exactly if you had an overshield when you were revived, but that would be something I think that they should add in if they haven't yet already. We only had the attrition mode the one time, so I don't necessarily remember. I do remember getting revived and then assassinated immediately by the enemy team. So yeah, being able to move, that's kind of important. Many players would like the elimination to appear in matchmaking so they can unlock the medic achievement, and confusion around the motion tracker radar ranges. Again, this goes back to a video that I made a while ago. I don't necessarily remember the name of the video. I think it's Mistakes Were Made, and I was talking about Halo 5, and it was basically me saying this is what should apply for Halo Infinite when it comes to certain aspects of the game. And having rules that are set that go from campaign to multiplayer and don't change, one of them being radar range and the sandbox with the weapons balance, that's something that you could definitely tell that obviously the radar in the campaign is different. It's 59 meters, which when you're running around as the chief in the open world that they give you, huge radar is important, especially with the amount of enemies that can pop up. And they're not going to want to give you a 59 meter range for the multiplayer. So I don't know. Personally, I think it would have been better had they been designed together. When it comes to the desired for more arena maps and modes and bringing attrition to quick play, we, like all of you, want more map/modes to play and have a list. We're working on them for future releases for Season 2. We have an updated version of King of the Hill that you'll be able to play in matchmaking and customs, along with being able to set it to classic version. You'll see a lot of updates, playlists, including addition of the new Catalyst arena map and attrition going into quick play. Over the season, our goal is to rotate in some new playlists with fun variants that they've been play testing a lot lately. In attrition, players want the ability to move while reviving a fallen teammate and be able to move immediately after being revived. With attrition going into matchmaking, we've tweaked the revive mechanic slightly to no longer pause the revive player when they spawn back in. Initially, this was intended as a balancing mechanic for a revive, but after playing it in the wild, we've decided that the risk of the revive interact itself was enough of a risk reward. The interaction to revive down teammates will remain the same for now, but we're excited about some of the revisions we're working on for the future updates to attrition that will change this mechanic more. Many players would like the elimination to appear in matchmaking so they can unlock the medic achievement. Elimination will be making its debut during Season 2 when the mode lands. It will show up in matchmaking as a rotational playlist and be made available to custom games. To help make sure the medic achievement is always attainable outside of matchmaking, we've updated its underlying requirements to allow it to be unlocked in custom games. Oh, wow. Honestly, that's something I did not expect. We hope that this helps all the achievement hunters out there. Just a very, maybe a pro tip that many of you may or may not know. If you go into your Xbox or your PC settings and you disconnect from the internet and you actually go into custom games, a lot of the modes that they're adding in later, they're already there. You can go in and I believe you can play attrition with the custom games with the bots, as long as the bots count, the number count when you go to start the game doesn't bug out. But yeah, a lot of the stuff that they're adding in is, some of it's there. So I don't know what they're waiting for to turn it on. This is like the drip feed content for the custom games. And so it'll be interesting to see exactly what they have added in here. Note, confusion around the motion tracker radar ranges. In Season 2, we'll be enabling the edge functionality for the motion tracker in all social playlists. That means that players who are sprinting, shooting, or operating vehicles but are just outside of range will now show up on the outer fringe of the motion tracker. The inside of the motion tracker will continue to detect walking, sprinting, shooting, and operating vehicles as precise blips. To be even more specific, arena motion tracker distance will be 18 meters, with the edge functionality being at 30 meters. Why not just meet in the middle and make it 25? 25 to me seems like a good number. It's worked before previously in other Halo games. They wouldn't need the edge of the motion tracker, I think, to be active if they just upped it to 25. Big Team Battle will be 24 meters with the edge functionality set at 40. We'll be listening to feedback here, so once this rolls out the door, be sure to let us know what you think. Make it 25 and, just move along. I don't think you need to make things more complicated than they already are by adding the edge, and have it be the same radar range, at least across multiplayer modes. Big Team Battle maps and modes. Desire for more BTB maps and modes. Desire for the multiplayer announcer, Jeff Steitzer, to be heard in Big Team Battle, which is weird that he's not in there already. Like, I don't understand why he wouldn't be. That, to me, just seems like a no-brainer. I noticed that he wasn't in there. I thought it was a bug. But apparently this is something that has to be patched in. It was like on their checklist, and when they shipped the game and maybe they forgot. I don't know. But yeah, that's very weird. Desired for members of your fire team to show up in your intro camera lineup. Okay. Desire for equal vehicle drops, including asymmetrical modes like Slayer and Total Control. Yeah, some people were getting dropped in with their drops were a tank, and then the other sides was like a mongoose, which that's not, obviously that's not balanced or fair. Weapon rack spawns are not always symmetrical in BTB. That is correct. And not all weapons have been created equal. So while one side could get 2 or 3 battle rifle spawns, the other side would get, I don't know, the heavy assault rifle. I can't remember what it's called right now. The feedback for desired for more modes. We have some great BTB maps going through the arting process at the moment. The longest part is map development. For Season 2, we're dropping Breaker into the mix, which features a giant moving laser that cuts across the center of the map and destroys anything caught in its beam. It's a tighter and faster playing BTB map that feels different than anything we've currently had in Infinite. We're excited to play it with everyone in BTB when Season 2 launches. Now, there used to be in Halo 2, there was a map, I believe it was called Terminal, and it would have a train that would buzz through the middle of the map. Now, this laser is going to do one of two things. It is either going to be so overwhelmingly powerful that it actively deters people from going to the middle of the map, and then, everyone's just kind of run around the edges or the other paths that don't intersect with the laser. Or it could be a cool dynamic aspect like the Halo 2 map Terminal with the train that would pop through every now and then. And yeah, if you were cutting through that area, it would hit you and you'd be killed by the map itself. So I don't know. We'll have to see. We'll have to wait. It's going to be interesting to find out, though. Hopefully it's a decently designed map. Desire for multiplayer announcer Jeff Steitzer to be heard. We believe in the concept of Commander Arg, I don't know how to say that, giving you orders and feedback in your battle training during BTB. One thing that ultimately felt missing was the metal feedback, but we also just didn't feel right having her shout overkill in the same way as Jeff Steitzer for Season 2. Steitzer is into call out your medals and accolades and keep the hype going, while the commander will still be there for your field evaluation feedback. I've got to be honest, I don't just have the one announcer. I don't understand what the need for having this commander talk to you for. It's multiplayer. I know they've been trying to slowly interject story elements into the multiplayer ever since Halo 4. But it doesn't need it. Jeff Steitzer is the Halo multiplayer voice. That's what people, fans of the game, that's what they expect. And I don't know, it's just odd that they would try to change that. Desire for your members of your fire team to show up in the intro camera lineup. I'm not even worried about that. Desire for equal vehicle drops. Pelican vehicle drops in BTB can indeed be out of sync, and we've identified the root cause. We'll share more on this as a fix gets closer, but please know that we're tracking this, and it will get addressed in a future release, so not Season 2. Weapon rack spawns are not always symmetrical in BTB. We have addressed this in the Season 2 build. Instances of uneven weapon spawns and unsymmetrical placements were not intended due to issues with settings on those specific weapon racks. In this instances, both teams should have the same weapons in their weapon racks. If you spot any more uneven rack spawns, be sure to let us know. All right, now when it comes to matchmaking, players are reporting teammates that are out of their depth. I'm assuming maybe not in the same skill level. Saying that they're out of their depth, that's a bit odd. In ranked, desire for champion rank kills for highest Onyx rank. In ranked, the amount of CSR goes up and down is confusing. Many players would like to reconnect / rejoin or a forfeit feature, especially for ranked. A forfeit feature would be amazing. I've been calling for this, I think, since the MCC got its redesign in 2018. Forfeit feature would be huge. And specifically for when players quit out of a ranked match, and the teams become uneven, then you need the ability to say, hey, I don't want to play this anymore and I don't want to be punished for this. But yeah, a forfeit feature would be amazing. Desire for more player agency to choose experiences via Match Composer feature or additional playlists. Match Composer, for those of you that may or may not know, is something that is in the MCC currently. And it gives you the ability to basically choose, I want to play this game type with this weapon set, and then it'll go and find other people that want to do the same thing. Desire to opt out of crossplay for various reasons. No. There's not various reasons. There's one reason. There's one reason why people want to drop out of crossplay, and that is because of cheating. I don't necessarily know if this was a bug in my personal experience or if this was something that I was a victim of cheating. I was in a match where I loaded in, the game was already running, which meant that people were quitting, and the game was then placing people back into that match. Where I loaded in, and I had no heads-up display, except for the radar in the left corner. Now, when I would move, nothing would happen. The camera would stay in one place, but the character model was actually moving because I was accidentally, in some instances, running out of bounds. I was running out of bounds and dying. Now, I was also spawning directly in front of the enemy. They would gun me down, and that would be the end of that. I ended up quitting that, but I don't know if that was a bug or if somebody was cheating. But that is the main reason for wanting to get out of crossplay, specifically with PC. The desire for regional server selection. All right, now let's go ahead and take a look at the feedback. In ranked, players are reporting teammates that are out of their depth. Ranked is an area that they are working and monitoring closely. There has been a lot of work going in to reduce the differences in between skilled players in competitive matches. It's the top priority for ranked. In the recent Halo Infinite ranked blog, we highly recommend reading, which I will not write here. It has our responses to these and other ranked themes in greater detail. In ranked, the desire for champion rank for the highest ranked Onyx players. In ranked, the amount of CSR goes up and down is confusing. Okay, so in regards to the champion rank, they'll be adding in the feature in a future season, not season 2. Down the road, the CSR progression is dependent on many factors: the outcome of your match, win-loss, your individual performance, the relative skill of your teammates and opponents. The ranked blog provides more specifics on this one. Additionally, we have seen confusion around how CSR updates appear on your screen after a match. Currently, the meter shows your total session ranked, and since you launched the game, which we understand is a bit confusing, especially when trying to determine the impact of your last match. I don't really play ranked, so I don't necessarily know what the complaints are here. But when Season 2 launches, the CSR progression bar will be updated to show the progress made for the most recent patch. This should help communicate better impact and the recent match had on a player rank. Many players would like a reconnect, rejoin, or forfeit feature, especially for ranked. We have a lot of things that we're working on to help mitigate player pain when a player quits or disconnects from a match in ranked. While they won't make the launch of Season 2... The integrity of ranked matches is a priority for us to continue iterating on and improve and ensure the best quality of matches possible. Desire for more player agency to choose experiences like a match composer or additional playlists. In Season 2, we will have more regular rotations to our playlist, rotating out less popular playlists and putting up new ones for players to dive into. Season 2's launch will also bring a new map, Catalyst, and the fan favorite mode, King of the Hill, to multiple playlists on day one. Long term, we're looking at more options for players to have more autonomy over, and they'll be waiting to play and maintain a healthy matchmaking experience for everyone. Expect more updates in the future. Feedback. Desire to opt out of crossplay for various reasons. We believe in supporting crossplay as our primary avenue for players to match. We believe supporting crossplay as our primary avenue for players to match make is important to maintaining healthy and populated matchmaking experiences for players to find matches quickly. There's work on feature list that they're looking to get into in future updates, along with improvements to the anti-cheat systems to ensure better matchmaking experiences. 343 has no confidence in Halo Infinite that if they shut the servers off when it comes to the crossplay stuff, if they give people the ability to opt out of crossplay, they're afraid that they don't have enough players to be able to populate both PC and Xbox playlists. And, that's really all you need to know right there. They have absolutely no confidence in the fact that their player base is dropped because of the issues of the game. Now, they could alleviate that actually if their bots worked properly in the way that they should. Having join in progress is something that also helps. But nonetheless, I think honestly, as long as stuff changes, then they might be able to fix this. But if it doesn't, I don't know. I don't know. I don't know how they're gonna. I don't know what they're gonna end up doing. Desire for regional server selection. Since launch, they have already done some work to help improve matchmaking in some regions, such as Australia, and will continue monitoring and making updates during the lifetime of the game. As mentioned in our online experience blog, it's worth restating in this post too. If we ever feel like the matches we are making do not meet player expectations or the quality bar, we will evaluate additional means of improving the online experience, including considering features like server selection similar to MCC or search preferences similar to Halo 5 down the road. All right, custom games and Forge, which I don't know why, again, before they would mention Forge, because Forge is not available. So that's a bit interesting. But all right, let's go ahead here. Desire for more adjustable game modes and options in custom games. 100% extensibility is a core pillar for Halo Infinite and custom players. And custom games plays an important part in this goal to let players make an endless assortment of game modes. Our plan is to continue expanding custom games options over time, and we have an ever-expanding list of custom games options on our backlog that we're working on to create more flexibility in custom games to build way more mode variety and give players control over all settings. This is coupled with a coming launch of Infinite's incredibly powerful Forge that will give players infinite possibilities to create new game experiences. Desire for additional bug fixes. Desire for, let's take a look here. Yeah, they're going to continue addressing bugs and improve the custom experience. Note, desire for custom games browser. Custom games browser is something we are deeply passionate about too, and we're happy to say that the team is in the early stages of production for it. Desire for Forge to arrive as soon as possible. It broke our hearts not to be able to launch Forge alongside the rest of Infinite, but to ensure it meets the bar we're setting to achieve the massive overhaul of Forge and Infinite wasn't just able to make it out before the end of last year. It's very much another generational leap forward in what will be capable and brings many of the community's highly requested features, which we believe greatly will empower the community to build way more impressive and creative gameplay experiences inside of Infinite. You know, really, honestly, if there's anything, like we're about halfway through the blog here from looking at the scroll bar here on the side. And if there's anything that I've learned with reading this, is that Halo Infinite was nowhere near ready to release. This game needed maybe another 2 years. Ultimately, I think that it came down to too many cooks in the kitchen. You hear about all the issues with the studio changing project leads, and I think that honestly had a lot to do with it. They have Joseph Staten in there now, which is great. You know, it's good to have him back. I feel like when the game launched that it got, released in the state that it's in only because he was able to actually pull things together. It's a shame that he couldn't get it into the state that needed to be in. But we also know too that a lot of the problems they had were with having a ton of contract workers work on it. But yeah, this game was nowhere near ready for launch when it launched. Personal AI and Spartan chatter. Feedback. Granular controls of each in-game voice. Personal AI, Spartan chatter, multiplayer announcer. Basically just that they're going to add a better balance of combat chatter and feedback across multiplayer. Basically, you should generally hear less chatter with a greater emphasis on what's most important to players to understand. We'll continue to evaluate the health of the features, as well as evaluate the options to offer more granular tuning by players in the future. I mean, obviously, more options gives the ability with that stuff. Various reports of crashing on different hardware specs. Various reports of crashing on different hardware specs. We've been analyzing telemetry and partnering with the Halo support team. Thank you for everyone who submitted tickets to identify and prioritize issues with the most impact in terms of severity and frequency. Basically, they're just, in total, the team has resolved dozens of crashes, and the impact should be quite noticeable when Season 2 launches, and they'll obviously continue to work with that here in the future. PC players would like better performance across all machines. I think everybody would, especially on high-end machines. Optimization that improves performance will be a constant goal for the team throughout the lifetime of the game. Internally, for beyond Season 2, we've started a new focus efforts around optimizing the game while playing on high refresh rates, 120 FPS plus. This will maintain the same visual quality bar while allowing players to bump their frame rate compared to what they get in Season 1. Continue to share more as they continue to optimize. Obviously, you need better anti-cheat. And this is, again, part of the reason why a lot of people want to be able to turn off crossplay. Because the cheating is bad. As that is with every free-to-play multiplayer game on PC. We know that cheating has been a hot issue for players since the launch, and we're exploring a few ways to make a meaningful impact on both the short and long term here. The efforts are concentrated on two main areas that have the biggest gaps in the approach, and they are working on a streamline of the process for reporting players for cheating or toxic behavior, which can currently be done on the Halo support site. Look, they need an in-game button to be able to report somebody and then have a list of things like, oh, well, what are you reporting them for? Most problems that I run into for players, at least that I feel like maybe might need reported, are people that just go AFK. And this is, I believe, also an issue with challenges, with some of them being like, oh, play 10 games of Team Slayer. So you just hit matchmake, you set the controller down or set it up on your keyboard or whatever, and then you just go away and just let the matchmaking take you. They need to get better, especially with idle players. If they can find a way that idle players get kicked, then I think that would help out a lot. I know games like Destiny have it. I'm not really sure if Call of Duty does, but yeah, being able to have the game auto kick people that idle for more than a few minutes I think it would help improve the game a lot. As for the state of red reticles on PC, we still believe that keeping this as is making it harder to develop certain cheats is the right decision for the health of the game. So what this is, and I didn't know this until recently, I heard somebody else talking about it. Apparently, your targeting reticule on PC never turns red. Now, I don't know if it's that way with a controller or if it's just with mouse and keyboard. But when you get closer in previous games like the MCC or even on the Xbox, your targeting reticule will turn red, letting you know basically that you're in the optimal range for the weapon that you have equipped. That had to get turned off on PC because of the aimbots, which is ridiculous. It's crazy. Discussed in the sandbox aiming section below. Let's see what they have to say about aiming. Oh, geez. Feedback reports players dying behind walls and around corners. That's happened a lot. Reports of poor melee experiences due to warping. Maybe rubber banding is what they mean. Reports of inconsistent bullet and melee registration. I don't know about bullet registration. Melee for sure. I've run into that. Reports of warping when moving normally. Reports of full desync when interacting with vehicles. I haven't really had that. I don't necessarily jump into them. They are aware of the desync issues related to shot registration and players rubber banding or warping. Just call it rubber banding because that's what it is. And working to improve all of these areas for deeper dive on mitigations for the future. Please check out the post on networking. Maybe we'll go into that in another video. Specifically for Melee in Season 2, we'll have improvements on Melee. You can look forward to that resolve some of the warping or phasing that happens when players melee each other. When players melee each other, there is a brief rebound window where they go airborne and bounce backwards. However, players also have air control during this window. Since you generally hold forward while meleeing, you end up moving forward during this window, Combining that with 2 players both holding forward, you may see players phasing through each other. To help reduce these occurrences, we're adjusting the melee rebound behavior, which should lower the possibility of overlapping positions while in close quarters engagements. Another melee fix they have for Season 2, addressing the melee lunge accuracy. Aim should better snap towards your target, and a successful melee lunge helping you keep your target in view for successive melees, reducing the need to spin around and hopefully reducing instances of whiffing. I get a lot of that with the sword, actually. Oh boy. Feedback for weapons. Let's see what they got here. Mangler is prominent in high-level gameplay, especially with its one-shot plus melee combo. Many players find the Ravager's damage output to be underwhelming. Many players have reported that the Pulse Carbine is hard to use effectively against Spartans. Similar to above, the Plasma Pistol was also viewed as not being effective enough on Spartans. Oh, that's what it is. Some players report that aiming is too loose and difficult with the VK-78 Commando. Some players would like the Gravity Hammer to have a faster attack that can be activated via the melee action and not deplete the ammo. Rocket launcher damage feels inconsistent, leading to confusion around damage radius. This is actually something that, all of this I agree with. The Pulse Carbine, it's garbage in the multiplayer. The Plasma Pistol, I feel like the only reason it's in the game, honestly, is for grunts to use. It doesn't do anything in multiplayer. And with them taking away the EMP ability and putting that on the electric weapons, then the Plasma Pistol is essentially useless. And the Commando, I could see aiming is a little bit loose. Just takes a little bit extra timing and getting used to. And the Ravager's damage, that's no good. That's not a weapon that I ever use. And the Gravity Hammer, absolutely. Make it swing faster. Like, I don't understand why they would slow it down. When you're fighting against the sword swing, boom, you can hit somebody with the sword and the hammer together. You bounce off of each other. And then you go to swing the hammer again, and it's just way too slow, and the sword wins that. The sword wins that engagement every single time unless somebody else is shooting the person that is attacking with the sword every single time. And for the rocket launcher, 100%, the damage on that is inconsistent. Now, they start looking again at an overall balance changes, and I'd like to highlight the Inside Infinite blog from last year, which covers design pillars, which is last year. You don't need to look at that. Feedback. Did I accidentally scroll up? With the Ravager, splash damage on the base non-charged shot will be increased. Many players have reported the Pulse Carbine is too hard to use. Beyond that, they're also tracking balance issues with the Pulse Carbine, Plasma Pistol, and the Commando, and they are aware that they're underperforming. After the Mangler Ravager melee changes for Season 2, they're going to evaluate their impact on the meta and just make adjustments to the other weapons as necessary in the future. Some players would like for the Gravity Hammer to have a faster attack that can be activated via the melee action and not deplete the ammo. As for the Gravity Hammer, the additional melee strike is something that they would like to support as well. It's on the radar for a future update. I mean, this blog just, it shows that this game was not ready for launch when it launched. At least the multiplayer wasn't. They could have dropped campaign and then drop the multiplayer later, or just, keep it in beta. Everybody was happy with the beta, and even if you still called it, which it still technically is a beta because it doesn't have hardly any features and it needs a lot of adjustments and stuff done to it, they should have just called it a beta, kept it in beta mode. I don't know, Fortnite was in beta for 3 years? The rocket launcher damage seems inconsistent, leading to confusion around damage radius. Lastly, they're working to improve the rocket splash damage to make it feel more consistent and reliable, with no date on that, of course. Friend or foe recognition and player outlines. They agree that the shield FX could be better communicated, the opponent's shield state. That's something that they'll be addressing with future updates, not Season 2. Desire for more options remains, including the ability to turn them off. In Season 2, they've added the ability to modify the values of both opacity and thickness for outlines, building the fully off function per team, and hooking it into a player's option will take more time. But philosophically, we are aligned with allowing players to customize their outlines for the desired experience. The equipment drop wall feels like it does not offer enough protection. It does not, and it takes way too long to launch. Many players believe the overshield is not providing enough extra shield health. I agree with that. Some players report that the overshield's player shield state, full OS versus sliver of OS, is not apparent when in combat against them. Yeah, that is actually something that is true. You don't know how much of the overshield an enemy has, and there's ways that they can definitely fix that. But let's go ahead and head here real quick, see what they have to say about the drop wall and the overshield. We agree with the drop wall and the overshield sentiment that they're not providing enough benefit. Coming in Season 2, they'll have some balance tweaks to both of the pieces of equipment that should help them perform better. That's it. They're not going to go into more detail on what they're doing. Okay. Feedback, some players report the overshield state. Similar to the shield state FX, the OS shield is also on the radar as something they could better communicate. And they're going to look at that at a future update. Okay. A lot of this stuff here, we've got vehicles and everything is coming either in Season 2 or at least added to a future update. Coming in Season 2, they'll have a buff to the chopper damage that brings back its vehicles splattering glory. Let's see. Razorback. Yeah, the mongoose can flip too easily. We already talked about that a little bit earlier. Movement. Desired for increased physics impulse to help with grenade jumping, etc. Regarding the desire for increased physics impulse, that is something that is a sensitive area between capturing the fun and the legacy physics players expect in a Halo game. Balancing around a competitive shooter in the way that it feels exciting to maintain consistency. Pushing it too far results in players being thrown around too much by enemy grenades, exacerbating existing grenade spam issues. We think we have a good middle ground between those two aspects, but so they're not going to change anything with it when it comes to that. Some players like no collision, while most would like it to return. Now, this is something I'm probably not in line with when it comes to most of the Halo community. I like the no player collision, at least in the social game playlist. I have had so many times when playing Infinite where I would have been pushed out into an enemy like firing on me, but because the player collision doesn't exist, that doesn't happen. So many times in the Master Chief Collection, I've been trying to either run around a corner to get away from an enemy that's firing at me, and I haven't been able to because somebody's standing in the way and they won't move, or I've been kind of trying to peek around a corner to see and like maybe fire on an enemy, but then I just get pushed out into the open because of somebody behind me trying to do the same thing. So I do like the no player collision, but definitely give it a toggle. Collision was turned off for allies to reduce frustrating moments of getting hung up on friends in tight spaces or backing into allies and feeling like you're hitting a wall. We feel like this keeps things cleaner and lets combat flow more naturally. However, we are aware that the community sentiment are discussing future mitigations. We also want to include making it an option players can switch on and off in custom games. But you got to fix the custom games first. Let's see here, going over, there's a lot of aiming stuff. The aiming experience is critical to any FPS title. We want to make sure it always feels good as possible. Thank you for your feedback on the areas so far, and keep it coming. UX UI. Many players believe the vertical menus would improve the customization process. Desire to have challenges appear on the start menu. While in a multiplayer match, that would be something that would work very well. Inability to see second grenade types in the HUD left some disappointed. Some would like HUD customization options. The flow to mute a player takes more steps than in previous Halo games, causing confusion. Due to lack of in-game messaging, players don't know why they were banned or for how long, causing frustration. Oh, the ban. We'll talk about that here in a minute once we get there. We agree our customization presentation needs improvement and have been putting together a plan over time for improving this experience. While there will be quality of life improvements to the existing flow of prioritized for the near term, We will be connecting longer efforts like menu layouts and navigational changes in an upcoming feature release. Desire to have challenges appear in a start menu. As for many of you have noticed, challenges did not appear in the pause menu during flighting last summer. The reason it was removed was because there were larger systems limitations that prevented us from displaying incremental challenge progression in a match. This would often lead players to think their progress wasn't being tracked. While we sort out how to better achieve the original intent, we will be bringing a simpler, more static list of current challenges back into the pause menu so players can use it as a quick reference in match. Inability to see second grenade type in HUD left some disappointed. Yes, I'm definitely on board with that. While we continue to prioritize and work around short and long-term HUD improvements, having backpack secondary grenades visible in multiplayer will be inbound as part of a coming update. Feedback, someone like the HUD customization options, absolutely. This is something that was in Doom Eternal, being able to customize things that show up on the HUD or where they're at. I hope that they can do this because I would really like to be able to move where the weapon is in the bottom right corner of the screen where it shows like your ammo and your secondary weapons and your grenades and stuff. I want to be able to move all that. To make certain aspects of the HUD layout more configurable are actively being worked on. This is a way off, but our first target is to allow players to choose to display their equipment next to their radar, similar to Reach in Halo 4. We told them about this months ago. The community told 343 that they wanted to be able to have that stuff moved to the corners of the screen months ago. In I think the first flight that they did. Feedback, the flow of, to mute a player. Muting a player with the back button is currently being worked on. Due to lack of in-game messaging, players don't know why they were banned or for how long. Okay, let's talk about banning. Now, this is something that I've been on a soapbox for, especially when it comes to the MCC, for a very, very long time. Listen, I'm going to pick the mic up for this one. Stop banning people for quitting games in a social playlist. Your game is free to play. When someone gets banned in a free-to-play game, they will go to a different free-to-play game, like Call of Duty or Destiny or Fortnite or any other game that doesn't ban them for quitting a social game type. You want to have a ban for quitting ranked matches? I am 100% with you. But take it away from the social playlists, especially when you have players that are AFK that aren't playing or aren't playing the objective and are just running around trying to complete challenges. Let us quit without punishment. We will continue to expand upon our player reporting anti-cheat features, which will include better in-game messaging to our players that we've been put on a cooldown. This will be coming online once we've gotten our first round of quality of life improvements. Okay, in closing, we're excited to continue improving the game, and your input is a critical part of the process, so keep it coming. If you want to participate in surveys and future Halo Infinite flights, be sure to register as a Halo Insider. Provide feedback and surveys. We encourage you to join the discussion on the Waypoint forums. Quick fact about the Waypoint forums: be careful what you say and how you say it, because you will be banned if they do not like your tone or language that you're using. And you will get muted on Twitter, and you will be banned on Reddit as well. That's actually something that I see a lot of people saying. I try to respectfully submit criticisms, and they don't want to hear it. As a reminder, if you ever run into any bugs or issues on the game, of course, report it at the Halo support. But last but not least, if you haven't read our Closer Look blogs that dive further behind the scenes, they want you to do that as well. Thank you for your continued support and feedback during Season 1 of Halo Infinite. Stay tuned for the next blog with the live team. So, again, this was huge. I mean, just look at how huge this blog post was. It gives a lot of good information, but at the same time, some useless information. Things that you would read and look at that and go, really, no kidding. Like, why wasn't that there to begin with? And we still haven't had, let me see, where did they put it? The stuff for the next blog that they're going to be dropping is going to talk about, where is it? It's going to have like the customization, the store progression, a whole bunch of other stuff, a lot of the major stuff. This was all kind of some small elements and some major, but for the most part, like a lot of this stuff is stuff that you would have expected. And it just proves that the game wasn't ready for launch when it launched. And, you know, it needed another year, at least when it comes to the multiplayer. They could have launched maybe a campaign with like online co-op. I think that may have been acceptable for many people with up to 3 or 4 players. But instead we kind of have a whole product that's not a whole product, that's a half product. But what do you guys think about this? If you've actually sat through this whole thing with me, go ahead and let me know in the comment section down below. I'll really appreciate it. It's really just for us to jump in here and cover some of this news. If you guys like these kind of videos, let me know. This is something that I'm looking into doing pretty regularly with going over news. I got myself a decent green screen here. So let me know if you guys like the new format or not. But anyway, until next time, guys, thank you all for joining me here. I really do appreciate it. And I hope to see everybody in the next live stream.